Okay, last night I'd done a steer, well not a graft, but how to do a steer for a V graft, and I realised that I can now video by jacking this up and showing you how I actually do my grafts here in Thailand. I'll start off, I'll do a slant graft. Now to do a slant graft, what you do is you get rootstock and your scion, and you match them up so that they are the same diameter. And here I've got that there where I want it. Now this is my cutting board. I use this, it's just a piece of poly board, cutting board. It's great. I just put it behind and chop straight off. There's the piece I cut off. I don't throw that away. That goes into a dry pot downstairs, and eventually it'll root up and I've got more rootstock in the future. And all you do is you check, and that's a pretty good match that. Right, now what I do is, again with this, I use this because I can actually put more pressure on the cut. In Australia at the farm, we graft on trees in the open, and most people sit there and they'll get it and they'll cut up with a natural, don't always match up. Doing it this way, I can hold this behind it, I can look at it, see the angle I want to get, take it up, and there's my piece, and that's about the right length. That's about a little over an inch. Now what I do is I'll put this board down on the ground. I'll take the piece that I'm going to graft onto it, and what I do is I match this up with the diameter. Then I use it as a template and I cut across. And I check and it's not quite right, I'll redo it. You don't have to rush this, it's not a fast job. The idea is you're trying to get a cut that will match each other. So there I am. There's my cut. So that's a perfect match. All I do then is I'll put that up onto that piece. There it is. I take my tape. This is the one I get from New Zealand. It's more like Glad wrap than anything else, but it's a really good tape to use. You just hold that on to where you want it, take your tape, go around a couple of times, you can let go then you just line it up so the cuts match. There you go, then you come up the top and you come down like that. So you can turn that around. Now with this tape, the more wraps you do, the more strength it gets. So I do maybe 3, 4 or 5 wraps up and down. And you're pulling it tight while you're doing it. You're stretching this tape as you do it. And it just puts more pressure on it. And then when you've got to the side one, you just, and it's finished. That's your graft. It's that simple. It's not a hard graft. Now I know this one, this is Imperial Crown. And what I do is I take my pen and I'll write imp on that so that I know it's Imperial Crown. And that's all there is to it. That's your slant graft. It's easy to do, it's quick. It's probably my favourite graft because you're getting all that is joining. So you can imagine all this goes together, so you've got a much better join on the graft. Now, the other graft that's most common is the V graft. Now, I'll put that one down and drag up this bit here. Okay. This is a pot I prepared earlier. Okay, now you get it's the same principle. You get the piece you're going to use as the tip, and then you match it up on that, and I'm going to go through there. That's about pretty close to where I want to go. Okay, now, lots of people do this a different way. What I do is I go to the extreme edge of that piece there and get the blade in, and I work it down on a steep angle. I don't go shallow, I go down as deep as I can. Oh, there you go, I've got my blade all the way in there. Now I come to the other side and I do the same thing. I come down as steep as I can, cut that out, and there's my V. You can see that. I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty good. Now what I do is I get the piece that I'm going to graft into it, and using that piece I just cut out, again I go up, up. Okay, so I've V'd that out, I'll V'd that, I get it in, and there you go, there's your match. Okay, so that's a pretty good match. Now what I do stirrup these. I always stirrup a V-graft. It's much safer, it's much more secure. What you do to stirrup a V-graft is same as last night, but this is over the tip. So I'm going to go over the tip like that. I've thinned this down, I've pulled this down. Okay, you're pulling down on both sides of that. So that's pulling down pressure on it. Then what you do is you go around it, you wrap around like this, spin it round. You've got to come down so that you've covered the whole of the cut. Again, you go over it a few times, you don't just do it the once, you make sure that you've done that tight and that it's pulling it in. So there, pull that off. Now, that's the little tag end from the stirrup I started on. Now all I do is tie these two off, like that, double knot. And that's your V-graft, look at that. It's solid. This is the big difference. When you don't put that stirrup on, if you go like that, 9 times out of 10, the graft's going to fall to pieces. So by going over the top like that, or going over each side and going over leaf nodes and pulling it down, then wrapping, you're actually pulling this section down. And that's how you do it. It's simple, it doesn't take much. I mean, I've just come home from work. Obviously, I'm in my work here still. I've just done 45 grafts downstairs. It took me just a little over an hour. And I'm not a fast grafter. It's just a matter of being confident in what you do. It's quite simple.